Hey everybody, it's Alex Jones from Jones Firearms Coaching, and today I want to talk about something that has been a concern of mine for so long. If anybody has been on the local um, Facebook platforms, social media groups, you've probably seen me talking about this, whether it be in live videos or commenting on some of the concerns that I have for our community. Now, this is not to bash or put down our community or antagonize our community. This is to kind of bring some things to light that we should be talking about here in the community. We know that our environment is changing. We absolutely know that crime is increasing, and people are getting pretty desperate as far as what they can do. This is my concern. The thing is, a lot of people carry weapons here in Clark County and throughout the state of Washington. And there are many of those people who I would say are untrained, right? And I mean untrained for the worst case scenarios or even some of those not so worst case scenarios, okay? But we do have a lot of people that are in the state that are trained, they're getting knowledge, they're getting skills, they're doing the things that they need to do to take care of themselves and live up to the responsibility of being a moral gun owner. Now, I want to give you three things that needs to happen ASAP, right? I want people to know that they need to understand their responsibility of using deadly force. Like, this is not a game, okay? Using deadly force with a firearm has some severe consequences. And that's whether you shoot the person legally or not. There's some serious consequences that come with that. But at the end of the day, if you're not trained properly or you haven't prepared for the worst case scenario, I mean, to be honest with you, you can find yourself losing your freedoms, your finances, and also you may end up losing your life. So it's important to understand that responsibility of when I can use deadly force, when I cannot. Not even deadly force, but people need to understand also that it's important to know when you can actually use force for something, right? So I look at some of the cases, the several cases that I've seen of regular citizens trying to stop shoplifting, right? Now, I advise heavily against that because no property anywhere on this earth is worth your life, okay? I know. I'm frustrated too. I've been a victim of property crime over the past 2 years 4 times, and it's very frustrating. But I can tell you what, I've replaced my property. I have good insurance, and I don't have a problem with that. But what we want to watch out for within ourselves is that we don't want to get desperate when it comes to stuff like this, okay? Especially if we are armed. Our firearms are only to be used as a last resort, meaning there is imminent threat of grave bodily harm or death to ourselves, okay? There's no reason for us to go try to play the sheriff just because we got a concealed carry permit and we got a pistol on us and we feel like we can enforce the law whenever we feel we should, okay? One thing I want you to know, and this may seem harsh to people, but just because you could have a concealed carry permit, that doesn't mean anything. That just means you're allowed to carry a pistol. But do you have the mental, the physical, and spiritual preparation to actually be a good self-defender? And to believe it or not, some of the best skills of being a good self-defender is de-escalation and avoiding and escaping a particular conflict. So understand your responsibility, Clark County, Washington State, America, right? This is a huge responsibility. And if you're not ready for that responsibility mentally, physically, and spiritually, you might find yourself on the bad end. Now, there's going to be some people that may come to this video. There's going to be some nasty comments towards what I'm saying, and they're just going to shotgun out a whole bunch of ignorance and hate based on what I'm saying. It's happened before. But what I'm trying to do is give you guys an objective view, like, look, this is not a game. You need to understand your responsibility. Being a self-defender and being a responsible gun owner is way more than just, getting up in the morning, putting a gun on you, saying, okay, if something happens, I'm going to be ready. I'm glad you have the gun. But this brings me to my next point. Get education and training, okay? There's plenty of resources out here, whether you go to a shooting range, whether you go to get some firearms instruction, whether you go to YouTube, whether you go to Google, there's plenty of resources for us to get education. Now, when it comes to the laws of self-defense, right, meaning what we can do and what we can't do, I think it's fairly easy for any citizen to go into their state laws or Google their state laws about the use of force and the use of deadly force. It is very important that you take the time to go in there and read it and understand it. Because at the end of the day, you can always say, well, I guess I didn't know. Well, the court and the DA, district attorney, I don't really think they're going to want to hear that you didn't know, right? So make it a point for you as a responsible gun owner and self-defender to go and check out the information, like go and actually read and study this information. On top of that, do mental preparations and crisis rehearsals, right? So if you go to Trader Joe's every Wednesday, I'm just using this as an example. If you go to Trader Joe's every Wednesday, every time before or during or even after you step into Trader Joe's, you asking yourself a question based on a certain scenario. Hey, what do I do if someone walks in here with a long gun? Hey, what do I do if someone starts arguing over here with the cashier and they pull out a gun? Or what do I do if there's a domestic violence situation in here? What do I do? Start preparing yourself for those certain kind of situations, and I guarantee you're going to be better at trying to mitigate the risk to yourself and maybe even others if you're doing that kind of planning. One thing about education and training is this too. Make sure that you understand that going to a shooting range, right? And this is my professional opinion. Make sure that you know that going to a shooting range, sitting in front of a target that doesn't move, it doesn't cuss you out, it doesn't threaten you, it doesn't run after you with a knife, it doesn't even do anything. Don't get so caught up into that. If that's all you do, then to me, you're kind of like cutting yourself off from what you can possibly achieve as a self-defender, because that's just a static target. In a real life situation, trust me, I know from experience, your threat is going to move. You're going to move. You may have to change elevation, right? You may have to shoot around a corner, right? You may have to draw your weapon in a real bad situation. None of this stuff helps you on the range. Now, it's good. I'm not saying don't go to the shooting range, but what I am saying is make sure that you're getting some well-rounded training and education in your self-defender toolbox. A lot of things that you can do, especially for home defense and self-defense outside in the community, can be done in your home or in a classroom. You just got to get creative, right? Now, there are resources out there. If you notice, I'm not doing any plug for my business. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to let you guys decide where you want to go, what you want to do, how you're going to get this information. If you have any questions, definitely come in. If you're in Washington State anyway, definitely leave your comments below this video, and I'll try to shoot you some resources that I may know of or have here in the area to include myself as a firearms instructor, right? But get education and get some training. Going to the range is just not sufficient enough. That's great for marksmanship, but when it comes to tactics, it's not the end all be all, okay? Now, the last thing I'm gonna say, which is for me, I would say it's part of my, how can I say this? It's one of my biggest concerns, and it's what I see and hear on social media, right? It never fails. There's always someone who posts something, whether it be in a Nextdoor app or a Facebook group or something, and they say, hey, someone tried to break into my house last night, or someone was walking around my house last night, or someone got into my car last night and stole my iPod. I don't even think they sell iPods anymore, but they stole my headphones or something like that. And it never fails, when I go start to look through the comments, there's always 1, 2, 3, or several people that always bring the gun into the conversation. Now, I may try to empathize and figure out, hey, I understand where they're coming from when they say it, but here's the problem. Saying the things that people are saying on social media and some of these groups and apps is very inflammatory, and a lot of it is misinformation, right? The reason why I'm so concerned about this is because people read this stuff, right? So if people are inside of these groups, they're reading this stuff, and they think that it's okay to go outside and threaten the person with a gun who's trying to steal something out of your car. Now, if you're a person who wants to do that, believe me, there's going to be some serious implications with that. Now, there was a case, I think I'll do another video on it, of a guy who killed someone in his driveway here in the area, and he actually got charged for it. Long story short, he had been drinking, but he ended up killing somebody in his driveway. Come to find out, he wasn't in the right. He could have avoided a lot of that by just retreating, calling the police. Retreating, calling the police. Avoiding the situation and using your firearm as a last resort. So when it comes to social media, so many people are giving so much input and misinformation about what to do in those situations. This tells me that there are a lot of people who have ignorance of the laws. There are a lot of people who are not trained. There are a lot of people who are not mentally prepared that have guns in our community, right? See, I'll be honest. I am a gun advocate, but I am not a gun enthusiast. And when I say gun advocate, I believe that everybody, if you're capable, you should be able to exercise your Second Amendment right. Okay? However, I don't believe that everybody should have a gun. Of course, you have the criminal element. You have people who have severe mental illnesses, right? But I also go as far as to say people who don't have good morals, who don't have good judgment, who don't have any problem solving or de-escalation skills, I don't think they should have a gun. Now, I'm just waiting for all the hate comments to come after I just said this, right? But understand that we do have a responsibility in our communities, not only in Clark County, Washington State, but across the United States. We need to do better at moving forward when it comes to how do we educate ourselves? How do we get training? How do we move forward and put more things in our toolbox? Because at the end of the day, the chances of you having to use your firearm in an event is sometimes very unlikely, I guess. However, for that one time that you need it and you got it, that's great. But the other side of it is, I don't want you to make a bad decision because you're not prepared. I don't want you to do something stupid because you neglected all the principles of legal use of force. So think about that, okay? Understand your responsibility, get some education and training, and watch what the hell you are saying on social media. Because here's the other caveat to that. If you were to get in a defensive shooting, okay, and someone had been perusing the scanner apps and all that stuff, right? A district attorney would love to use that in your case. That is the truth. So if they saw a particular post and then they saw some comments that you made regarding the use of force, whether with a firearm or without, they are going to try to use that in court. Now, it may not convict you, or it may, who knows, but they are going to drag you through the mud. They're going to make you look like crap. And that's what people need to understand. Like, the district attorney is not going to be your friend in this. Their job is to prosecute you. So when all these news stories come out and they're going to start talking about, how you had these engravements on your gun, how you said this in this social media app, how you pose, how you've been acting on social media, all that stuff is going to come up in court if they can get access to it. So all I'm saying is I'm really pleading. Most people, or some people who've seen me over the past 2, maybe 3 years, know that I'm extremely concerned about this. I want to make sure that gun owners, potential self-defenders, are developing themselves to be in a position that they can win, not lose, but to win. So take all that into consideration. I'm sorry this video was long-winded, but I really, really, really want to get this message out, especially to Clark County where I work at, and also throughout Washington State. But this message reigns throughout America, right? Pay attention, get education, understand your responsibility, and watch what you say on social media. There's so many other avenues that I can go down, but I won't do that today. So thank y'all for listening. I want y'all to be safe. I want y'all to stay vigilant. The holidays are coming up. Remember your responsibility, or if you don't know your responsibility, you better find out. So thank y'all very much. Y'all have a great day.